around like a jackass. No clue that I'm unregistered.
As opposed to his normal process where he just drives around like a jackass.
I know. All these are bad ideas. But I've also realized vans are never going to get pulled over. I just think they're invisible to cops. Like, nobody's ever going to check this thing. Starting now.
I'll take that bet.
Yeah.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now broadcasting from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Hello, listeners across planet Earth. I'm Jim. Jacob's over there somewhere.
Hello.
And we have guests all the way from Tennessee.
Part of the prize, we never talked about this, but the prize of winning the Pod Therapy Fantasy Football.
Yeah.
You get to come.
You get a jock versus nerd day.
Right.
You get to hang out with us.
All expenses paid trip to Vegas.
That's right.
I don't know.
They put you up-
we don't have
some
all that.
expenses.
They
Yeah.
put you up in the Aria.
Yeah, we can get you a bottle
Right,
of water.
right.
I think that's
Which we
probably
were
fine.
totally going to do, but then they did it
They did
already.
it anyway.
So
And
it's
then we were
like,
going to
we're
get them
not
that
gonna-
cabana, but then they already had the cabana.
We're not going to pay for it twice. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
make
just
sense.
waste. So
Right.
the Andersons are here. They are the first and second place champions of the Pod Therapy Fantasy Football League, which is officially back in action. Our draft is freshly settled, and y'all are here in Las Vegas.
Most people in our fantasy football league just logged in
Yeah,
online.
yeah. They flew
They
here.
flew here.
Yeah, and got
to
a
be-
cabana at a nice hotel.
Yeah,
to
to
really
be
be part of
present.
it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
That's
And then hung out
that's
with
why
you
they
afterward.
win.
That's
That's why
right,
they win.
yeah. Weird. They
that's
have an
why-
edge.
Yeah.
So you guys come in from, now wait, where are you at in Tennessee?
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. Now, then you come here during probably the hottest week of the year.
Yeah.
It is absolutely
up
hell
there.
outside. It's very bad. And like, you guys keep coming back though. Like, this is your second home. You guys are here like monthly.
At least twice a year, usually 5 or 6
Why do you
times
come
a
in
year.
the summertime though? I don't understand. It seems like a bad idea.
Something going on. We usually come out for.
I mean,
an
it is
event.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We prefer to come in October for hockey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because of
microphone.
scheduling. Well,
There you go.
sorry, but because of scheduling, we had to come out Labor Day. And it is hot.
Fuck yeah, it is. It is insane. It is like 110 today. That's
Yeah,
in the
something like
shade.
that.
It
Yeah.
was awful. But I did go to Nashville, and it was okay. All right. The humidity thing.
Before we go any further, Nashville and Chattanooga, 2 different cities or one?
It's suburb. One's a suburb of the other.
Close enough.
It's like
All right.
2.5
What
hours
what
away.
states are what
Yeah.
states are Nashville and Chattanooga in?
Kentucky and Tennessee.
All right.
Or one. Well, they're both in Kentucky.
Ah.
Wait a minute. It's not that one. is it? Where are you guys from? 10IC. That's that one. Chattanooga's there too. Or wait, you guys are that. Wait, you guys Nashville? No, you guys are Chattanooga. It's the other one. Look, in my what's the
state-
other one?
What state is Memphis in?
That one. Yeah.
What state is that in?
That oh shit. There's 3 cities in Tennessee?
Is
They
that-
got all 3 there?
Are you saying Memphis is in Tennessee?
I don't know. Not I thought so. Is not, is it?
What about Knoxville?
Knoxville is.
Oh,
That's the
Knoxville's in
one.
Tennessee?
Memphis is the capital of Kentucky. Next door. Isn't it next door? Kentucky's really close to Tennessee, isn't it? Tennessee's weird, man. I shouldn't be judged for any of this.
People don't
Tennessee's-
believe that it's this easy.
No, Tennessee is in like 3 different zip codes.
You guys
It's
saw
weird.
me. I asked a question.
It's very strange.
I asked a question to which he had already answered earlier in the show.
So where is it? Is it not?
It's all Tennessee.
It's all
Oh,
Tennessee.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
in my defense, it's a very big state. They're in multiple not zip codes, time zones. That's very confusing when I was visiting there.
All right.
I don't like that.
A lot of states are in multiple times.
Tennessee is pretty. It's fine. The humidity thing is overrated. I did not care for the humidity.
No.
So hot day here or hot day there, where would you rather be?
Here.
Really?
Yes.
And that's a no-brainer.
Same temperature. It's much better in the dry.
And no mosquitoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No
Yeah.
mosquitoes here.
That is true. Yeah, the bug bites.
I agree with
not
that.
fun.
I would still rather take Vegas heat over Iowa heat.
Yeah. How hot does Iowa get?
It doesn't get hot, but it's the humidity. It's the same thing.
Okay, yeah.
You know, because it's all cornfields, right? So it's all
Yeah.
vegetation.
Oh,
it's
so it's just
all of this
constantly-
constant moisture in the air.
It's all
Yeah.
cornfields and brothels.
Lots of brothels.
And all that friction heat really heats up the state.
It does.
The 2 chief exports.
Yeah.
is corn
And imports.
And one industry can't survive without the other.
Right,
Exactly.
right. These,
Yeah.
Jason, welcome to Pod Therapy,
I mean, you
everybody.
can't
I
corn
hope
cob
this is your
somebody
first
without the corn
episode.
cob.
If this is your first episode, we do advice. This is a mental health advocacy show. At least it used to be. Welcome. All right, we got some great questions here after the
Episode title.
Porn and Corn section. First question is called Behavioral Activation from Team Monaco. Interesting. Hey guys, in April of 2021, we found out our 15-year-old daughter was suffering from depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and an eating disorder. That was a rough first therapy appointment for her and changed the trajectory of our family of 6 children. Fast forward to today, and she is doing much better, although we still have a long road ahead of us, and she still has daily struggles. I found your podcast shortly after your Reddit AMA earlier this year, and after going backwards 20 or so episodes, I decided to go back and listen in order. I started in March 2020, as that was a turning point in our mental health journey. Your podcast has been a huge help, as it has given me tools for both dealing with my kids and my own mental health. Plus, it's funny. Oh, thank you. A few weeks ago, I started individual therapy to deal with some very specific issues I have. One of the methods discussed was behavioral activation. I decided that supporting your show made me happy, so I joined the Patreon. Anyway, I kind of took the long road to the question. I don't recall any segments on behavioral activation, and don't remember it from the gaggle of appointments my wife and I had with our daughter. Can you give the Jim, Nick, and Jacob version of what behavioral activation is? Thanks for everything you guys do to destigmatize mental health. Team Monaco, a.k.a. Matt Monaco. Pronouns are he and him.
Oh, it's not often that I get one that I just know.
Yeah.
But this is...
Slam dunk that.
It's activating behavior.
Yeah, off the backboard.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
grabs it in the
That's
air,
it.
smashes into the hoop.
You pick a behavior
Glass everywhere.
and you activate it.
Yeah, that was it.
Team Monaco, you've just been life coached.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fine.
You have. And Andersons, did you see the lights?
You saw the light.
We
Yeah,
did.
it's real. Okay, so for all of you who keep writing in saying that's not part of it, there are
it's part of
witnesses in the studio. He flicks the lights on and off. It's like a thunderstorm in here.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, Team Monaco, for writing in. Because it's funny, because Jim and I were just having this discussion recently about this podcast and its growth
Yeah, yeah.
and the reverse Goldilocks zone. Of,
You want to explain that to them during our production meeting?
We like being able to fly under the radar,
Yeah.
but once we get above the radar, we need to get so far above the radar
That we cannot be shot down.
that we can't be shot down.
That's right.
This is the anti-Goldilocks zone for
That's
this
right.
show.
Yeah.
Joking, but kind of serious. Also, because we both have professional careers outside of this
Right.
podcast.
We used to
And,
anyway for this episode.
2 episodes ago, we spent an entire hour in the Patreon part of the show talking about bidets.
Yeah.
And so that does concern me a little bit as
Yeah.
a professional
Yeah.
working in the community.
Will the bidet thing come back to haunt
Will it?
us?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Do you think it might?
I mean, it's
Because
what
if
keeps
you
Nick
do,
up
I
at night.
think
mean-
you're dumb.
I mean, in an infinite universe,
Yeah. Of infinite
everything will
possibilities.
happen.
That's right.
Worst
Yeah.
case.
So-
What is the worst case scenario if everyone that you work with hears you talk about bidets?
What if one day there's like a huge cancel
I feel like
reaction
this is
to
a
bidet
small.
people?
I feel like this is small potatoes.
It is.
Yeah.
But my point being that I love hearing letters like this every once in a while where we get some feedback from somebody that said, hey, your show really helped.
Right.
It makes me feel good about
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. Anytime you
So-
guys tell us that this thing actually matters or did something good, it is honestly the fuel in our tank. It's the reason we can keep it going.
Exactly. Now, behavioral activation. So if you remember back several years ago, we talked about the CBT triangle.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
So this goes back to
we've brought it up
Long
a couple
time ago.
times.
Yeah.
it shows up.
So the
from time to time.
CBT triangle, if you can imagine just a triangle, each point represents something. So there's behaviors, feelings, and thoughts.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the CBT triangle is that if you intervene in any one of those points, it affects the other two.
Right.
So if you change your thoughts, which we spend a lot of time in the show talking about thought stopping techniques,
Oh yeah.
correcting distorted thinking, all of that, that is kind of the opposite end of what Team Monaco is talking about, which you could kind of call, I guess, thought activation.
Right.
Right. So we're talking about intervening with the thoughts. And then when you do that, then that changes the behavior and then ultimately changes the emotion. So what Team Monaco is talking about is behavioral activation, which is just doing the same thing, only you're attacking it kind of from the other side of the triangle.
Right.
So you're changing the behaviors, and then ultimately that will change the way that you think, changes the way that you feel. Right. So an example of this would be like, okay, so like let's say if I'm dealing with depression, and my depression causes me to just become inactive, and I don't do anything, and I just mope around the house or sit on the couch, and then that leads to negative thoughts of, I'm worthless, I'm not accomplishing anything, my time is, not valuable, whatever. And then ultimately leads to depressive feelings, right? So behavioral activation would be, I'm going to start by doing something physical. So
Right, because you can
every
control
morning,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to start my day by going for a walk.
Right.
So I do a 5-10 minute walk, and then ultimately getting into those patterns of behavior, then that starts to impact how we think.
Right.
Right. And then ultimately will affect our
How we
emotion.
feel. Yep. So that's all it is, Matt, is basically looking at it from this angle of sometimes we can't change the feelings we're having. So then we go to therapy, and a lot of times we're trying to change what are called cognitions or perspectives or thoughts. And we're trying to wiggle that corner of the triangle. Well, sometimes we can't get that part to really budge. So we might attack it from that other side, activating a behavior, which is exactly what Nick just said. For an example, we might say, hey, do you have a garden in your backyard? Oh, yeah, it's sitting out there. Okay, then this Wednesday, I want you to get up at this time. I want you to go out there. I want you to water your garden, and I want you to plant something new in this planting box. Well, how is that going to help? Let's find out. Let's just get you out there and do that, because doing nothing is not helping, right? So a lot of times activating a behavior leads to a domino effect down the road. It's always discouraging, though, because like take depression, for example. Your behaviors tend to conform to how you are feeling, right? In almost all circumstances, human behavior follows human thought and emotion. So if you're not in the mood to do something, you just don't do it. So this is sort of the fake it till you make it pattern, where we're going to actually start with a behavior that would resemble what you would do if you were feeling well or if things were going well. And if we can just do that to start, sometimes we can kind of like jumpstart the engine within you, and now your cognitions and your emotions follow suit, and you just start doing it, right? I think, was it Daniel Tosh? He had a joke about money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah, but he buys a jet ski.
Yeah, buys a jet ski. He said, you could try to be unhappy on a jet ski.
Try frowning on a jet ski.
You can't do it. Just, it's all throttle. Yeah, so that's the basic idea, I think, of what... So it's what Jacob said. Yeah, I think everything we've said is to say Jacob got it right on the first try, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, we're just here
I
to
didn't
provide
even
an
listen
echo.
past that.
No, you shouldn't have. If you cut Jacob's part, you got the answer. So that was 100% of it.
Fast forward to the next 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. Before we dive into trivia, though, something I forgot to mention because we got distracted with all the other fun things. On the Patreon, if you are not a member at patreon.com/therapy, it is not merely a place where you can catch extra content, such as today's extra content where we played Incoherent, a fun game where we shout words and try to understand what the hell we just said.
Funs and quotes.
And you can also listen and find out how my Honda purchase and resale journey's going. Not well. But yeah, not just that.
He ain't got a motor in the back of his Honda.
There's that. The Patreon is also an archive of deep dives and interviews, and we have new content that we are putting up right now. And so in September, there's already a new deep dive about a new study about transgender youth and some of the unique mental health challenges that new research is showing us that they have, as well as advice on how to work with those children or how to support a family member in your life who might be going through that. Again, patreon.com/therapy.
There's an interview that should be up by the time this posts.
Yeah.
Which is an interview I did with Ulrika.
That's going to be good.
Which is it's basically insurance 101, navigating insurance. So it's a really good discussion. She's really smart.
Yeah.
She knows her stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm a terrible interviewer. But if you can get through
also
that,
true.
It is actually a very useful resource.
Yep. And so our Patreon is basically a standing archive of like tons of deep dives. We've mentioned in the past we did narcissistic personality disorder, imposter syndrome, military mental health, and how top secret clearances work. Just all sorts of interesting stuff as it comes to us or as we interview people. We've interviewed social media influencers that are mental health people. We've interviewed a mental health match owner that like brokers mental health stuff. So lots of experts, the CFO of a hospital that talked about healthcare financing and the ins and outs of that. Just tons and tons of deep dives. I remember years ago we had interviewed our friend Junior. That was a really good one. God, he is so much fun. And he's talking about like recovery and all that stuff. So anyway, patreon.com/therapy. We should. Yeah, quick plug for that. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are talking about food addiction. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robert Brownie Jr., Mintz, Kayla Lansbury, Crazy Banana Scoop, Malia, Cindy Ash, Adam Hathaway, Mike Helm, Lib, Darren Kettingham. If you'd like to sponsor the show, become a Therapy producer, go to patreon.com/therapy. All right.
Special thanks to Therapy producers who are in here, or not Therapy producers, but supporters. Andrew, I believe you're a pterodactyl.
Yes, I am.
And Kevin, I believe,
let us
is
hear your cacaw.
at $1. Kevin put $1 in this pot years ago for one purpose.
Overpay.
And that was to compete in the March Madness bracket. And it was the one that got canceled because of the pandemic, Kevin. Get off my ass. But he changed his name to Kevin Wants His Dollar Back.
Yeah.
But he still stays in there. He's been doing it for months. I think now he's like fantasy football. He's got something to look forward to. So thank you both for your support.
All right. Our trivia this week is music theory.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay.
Theory?
Music theory.
Yeah.
What notes are played in a G major 7th
Oh,
chord?
come on, man.
You play guitar.
I don't know how. I know I can do it. I don't know why it does what it does. I know where to put my fingers on the strings and make it make
so
noise.
if you know the chord and you
No,
know where your finger
not a
goes,
clue.
all I have to do is figure out what that note is.
No, it's a chord. I don't know. Chords are notes?
All right. Jim's out. What notes are played in a G major 7th chord? I made it multiple choice.
Oh, come
All right.
on. This is going to be really
Is it
hard.
A, G, B flat, D flat?
What?
G, B, D, E,
What?
G, B, D, F, or G, B, D, F sharp?
Oh, God.
I think
If you'd like to join the Therapy producer, make show possible, go to patreon.com/therapy.
I think B.
Okay.
I don't know. And you guys are welcome to guess
It's
on
been a
this,
long
too.
time since I've had to do this.
Throw out a random letter. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going
So,
with D.
all right, Kevin wants D. What do you got, Andrea?
C.
I'll take A.
All right.
Kevin wins.
Oh, man.
G, B, D, and F sharp.
Of course
make
that
a
was
G
the answer.
Major 7th.
Do you know that, though? Like, you knew that?
No, I wouldn't know what the note is. I would have to think how I play
Where
it,
it
and then it'd be
is.
like, okay,
Right.
well, I know this makes that note, or
Yeah.
this makes that chord. That's an F sharp. Therefore,
That's so interesting. Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
I just know where to put my fingers to make a chord. So,
can't wait for the next question.
off to a great start. I'm losing literally to Kevin again. Fantastic. Food addiction. Is food addiction real? Hi, Pod Therapy and Co. I listened to a recent episode, June of 22, about someone potentially being addicted to masturbating, and in that, you mentioned the 4 C's of addiction. I realized I hit all 4 for food, specifically heavily processed and hyper-palatable foods. I have a compulsion to seek these foods out and eat them in excess. I've spent a concerning amount of time on this and hidden it from my spouse. Oh, that's interesting. I think about food all the time. I plan when I can get more and how I can eat it in secret. I obsess over it. I've skipped social events to binge on food or gone to social events and eaten myself into oblivion without even participating in the event. I try to cut back with no success. In the masturbation episode, you mentioned that a sex therapist might say, "You're fine and don't let society tell you that your sexual appetite is wrong." Whereas you view it differently, saying you want to help them work towards what fits best for their preferred lifestyle. I'm finding the same is true in the eating disorder world, where many therapists seem to take the approach that your appetite is fine and it's society and diet culture that are the problem, and the best solution is to allow yourself to eat all the foods to satisfaction. I'm personally finding that very difficult.
I don't think that's a good idea at all.
I can't wait to watch Nick try to answer this because this is like exactly written to A, piss him off, and B, cause an internet storm. And so I'm very excited. I'm personally finding that very difficult. I've been dealing with this for over 5 years and I'm feeling helpless. I'm struggling to work through this in therapy. It feels like an obsessive thought issue, an impulse control issue, a self-esteem issue, and just a bad habit all rolled into one. So, 2 questions here. Do you guys believe food addiction is real? And do you have any advice for how to proceed or what kind of treatment to seek?
Yes and no.
This
Next
is gonna
question.
be fun. Yay, Nick. This is exactly the kind of thing that gets you in fights on Instagram. This is going to be fun.
We talked the other day about sugar addiction.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
And I mean, with processed foods, that I feel like that's definitely going to be a component.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty damn close.
Right, processed foods, most of them have sugar in them.
So is
Sugar,
food addiction
salt.
real?
Yes. I mean, I would say
Why are you a bigot? Let's start with that. Let's start with why you hate humanity. I'm just going to be
Dude,
the internet troll. I'm just
thanks.
gonna throw everything
Yeah,
at you
thanks.
now. May as
Thank
well.
you.
Bigot.
No, I mean, it's
Bigot. Bigot.
Bigot.
Bigot.
He's
oh,
hitting
I can
the bigot
barely
button.
hear that.
It's
Yeah,
just Ready
no,
Rich
so,
saying bigot.
oh, is that what that? Okay.
Yeah, about you.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, it's real, but it's hard to say yes, food addiction, and then put that in the same category as other things,
Right.
right? Because I would say gambling is obviously an addiction,
Right.
and addiction to methamphetamine is an addiction.
Yeah, I don't know about
There-
that. Let's chill out there.
Easy,
you know?
Jay.
Oh,
Tangent.
that's the
Yeah,
line.
That's where I
That's
draw
the line for
you know?
Jim?
Meth is like a vitamin, man. You know, a little dab will do it. It's the opposite of weight
Let's
gain.
timestamp that.
Yeah.
We know where
That's
to
the
find that
drop.
again.
Go on.
No, but like they're different types. You know, it's kind of like that process addiction. But with food addiction, there's a chemical component. The thing that makes food different is that obviously we can't live without it.
Right.
So I don't even like going down the road of having the discussion about addiction because it doesn't really go anywhere.
Okay.
I think what this is really about is, do you have a healthy relationship with food?
Yeah.
That I think is where we can, because we can nitpick and we can disagree about the small pieces of it, but really it comes down to having a healthy relationship with food.
Right.
And that could mean, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, that could mean overeating.
Right.
That could mean undereating.
Yeah.
It could mean using it as a coping skill to deal with depression.
Right.
It could mean a lot of different things. So yes, I to the writer, I think you're exactly right in the sense that, you know, your assessment of like comparing it to like sex addiction,
Right.
where there are people who will say, no, this is, you only feel bad because you're shamed into it because people are
Right.
saying it's wrong.
Society has
Society
a
is saying it's
construct.
wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Well, in food, yeah, society does. I mean, and that's the thing where like, when I go down this road, then people think I'm dismissive of that. I'm not
Right.
dismissive of it. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like that is a huge thing, you know, like the ideal standard, what we should all look like.
Right.
Right. And then that has always been just an issue for women, but it's also a huge issue for men.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Like go to a Marvel movie. Like, I mean,
Thor. Yeah.
like-
yeah.
unless you're Iron Man, you don't have like any, like,
Right.
he's the only guy that doesn't work out. Like
Yeah.
he's the only one that doesn't have abs.
If
in
you're
the
Robert
entire
Downey
thing,
Jr.,
right?
you get away with it.
I think even the raccoon has abs.
That's right.
you know?
Yeah.
But so yeah, there's this standard that exists where we all
The
have to
tree
live up
guy
to
is
it.
in terrible shape.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He deserves all the shame.
Yeah.
Whatever shame,
Yeah.
he's deserving of that.
He's
Now-
in a different. He's in his own branch.
But so I'm not dismissive of that.
No. Okay.
That's sorry, I wasn't even. I
It's
just
just
I
terrible.
I'm
I
going
just
for puns.
I,
Sorry.
yeah, I just went back to answering the question.
Nah.
I'm not dismissive of any of that. That all is real and it's useful. It has a place for that discussion. But then there's another component to the food piece, which is your physical health,
Right.
right? I mean, there is a group that says that there is no long-term health consequences connected to weight.
Is that what they're saying? Because
Yes.
that's like
That
empirically false.
that
So
definitely
that
is.
can't be a thing.
That is definitely a thing.
I don't
Now,
know
so
about
this is-
empirically, but it certainly seems like it's just not true.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Like
Definitely
I
a lot
It
of
might be
again,
empirically
like,
false too. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far down that road because with that one group in particular, there's like 12 facets or things that like
I love
is
watching
kind of their
you squirm.
stance.
You're
right?
so scared of these people.
No, I'm not scared of them. It's just it's not
It's
where I
because
don't
Kevin is
want
one
to get
of
into it.
That's right. Yeah. Kevin's sharpening his knife over there.
Yeah, but I agree with 11 out of those 12.
Okay.
Like I agree with almost every single thing that they're saying.
Because a lot of it's about balance.
Yeah,
And a lot of it's social criticism.
Yes, exactly.
And that's true. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all about like, you should feel safe in the body that you're in. You should
Right.
feel, like you shouldn't have to deal with shame
Right.
for being in the
Agreed.
body that you're in. Yeah, I
Yep.
agree with all of that.
And
No,
think
Nick,
that
I
I
agree
just-
with those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and-
Nick, I agree with those
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
Why don't you?
You agree with them harder than I do?
Yeah.
No,
know
I
it's-
agree with them as opposed to you who hates people.
Who hates people and is a bigot. But like also to their point that particular group, I think it's called like the healthy at any size.
Health at every size.
At every size. They do make some good points about the euphemism of the word healthy, right? That it became this like tongue-in-cheek way to criticize body size by saying, "Oh, well, you're not healthy. All I care about is your health." And I understand some of their reaction to that of being like, "Hey,
Fine.
it's possible that I am healthy, but that I
Sure.
do have a higher size or I'm plus size or whatever." And there's definitely some truth to that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but I also
Yeah,
see
you can
Right.
like be larger and also be healthy.
It can be true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why you're saying 11 out of those
It's-
12 people, you're with them, you're high-fiving them, saying absolutely. But then
Right.
there's going to be somebody that's really
What's the one?
radical
What's number
about
12?
it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then the other thing,
What's number 12? What's the one that you disagree?
that there's no evidence for long-term
Oh, that okay.
health
Right.
risks
Yes.
for
Yeah. Those two
weight.
things are going to touch each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, the other piece to this too is that this is somebody who's writing in who's obviously very concerned,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And I don't want to dismiss their concern and saying, no, this is just society telling you this.
No. Yeah.
No, this is I validate your concern.
Right.
If you're saying this is real and you're saying that this is something you want to deal with, then
That's kinda all we need.
Yeah, that's my starting point.
Yes.
I need to figure out what it is that you want to change in your life
Yeah.
and how you want to change that. Ultimately, it sounds like it's a relationship with food.
Yeah.
So we may not even be to the point yet of where this is causing health effects
Right.
or where this is, impact. Well, no, but I guess we can say not health effects, but like you're choosing whether or not to go to an event based off of the food.
Yes.
You're eating food and hiding it from people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So all of this kind of checks off a lot of those boxes.
Yeah,
that
well,
we've
let's
talked about.
review them. Let's review.
Yeah.
So the letter writes about the 4 C's of addiction, which are not hard clinical definitions, but they're
No,
kind of the
it's-
shorthand that we use to just group a bunch of the criteria, so we can just quickly think about addiction in writ large, right?
Yeah.
And to remind everybody, the word addiction is not a clinical term. It does not appear in the DSM-5 TR.
Right.
It is just shorthand vernacular. We use it. But chronic, right? So that's the
No.
first C. Is that we're looking for things over 6 months. No? It's not
Nope.
chronic?
Nope. There's no
What
chronic.
am I thinking of?
Compulsive, cravings, consequences, and control.
Yeah. Control's the cutback. I usually say cut back on that one. Have you tried to cut back or control the use and you failed? Have you got negative consequences and persisted in use anyway? Craving, which is the emotional or physical connection to the behavior, which in this case, that's really obvious.
And the
then what's
compulsive seeking behavior.
okay? I feel
Yeah.
like that's already kind of spoken for in those other ones. Because I thought, well, you got to have 6 months or longer in order to define any of
That's
the...
not. Yeah, I mean, but that's never been part of the 4 C's.
Oh, okay,
That's
I
part
thought
of the
it was.
DSM-5.
Oh, that's probably why I'm blending it in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay, so the
Actually, it's not
Compulsive.
even really part of the DSM-5. It's 6 months. If we're talking about like a substance use disorder,
right,
because that's kind of the 12 criteria that we go off of.
right.
There's no time frame
Okay.
for any of that. There used to be.
Yeah, because
when
that'd
it
be the
was-
difference between
when it was-
intoxication and use disorder.
No, when it was not. No, when it was when it was abuse and dependence.
I'm gonna be looking this up now, yo.
There was a.
You got me googling
Call
it.
my bluff.
No, I'm not. I'm not just.
Bring it.
I'm just checking. I'm double checking your math. God, you're such a bigot. Do you mind if we talk about what you've gone through in your life?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Awesome. So pull that mic in closer to you, Kevin. So,
All right.
Kevin, you've been a friend of the show for a long time. You and your wife have been a part of this for a long time. And we knew you before your big weight loss journey, and we've known you afterward. And just share with the general audience for a second a little bit about what your weight loss journey was, and if you relate to this writer at all. I mean, what was that like for you to have a relationship with food that you had to like think about and go through a big change with?
Pizza is my big thing. I'm a picky eater, so pizza was one of the things that I just had to have all the time. I chose a diet that worked for me, that I could still eat pizza almost every day.
Okay. You went on the
Sometimes
pizza diet?
twice
How
a
much
day.
weight did you lose?
I just went from eating a extra large double pepperoni pizza to a
personal
4-inch,
Okay.
real thin.
So you got the
pizza.
flavor.
So
but then you
instead
were
of
out.
having 2,500 calories, I had 250 calories.
Okay. So
but
you
it
adjusted.
satisfied my cravings that I wanted, but I could still lose weight by eating less food. So
How much weight did you lose?
100 pounds.
100 pounds. And that was not by like some crazy fasting diet. It was an adjustment of portion size.
Right.
But not fighting what you liked. Like
Still
you were
got
able
to
to
eat
still keep
sweets,
with it.
still got to eat pizza, filled all the boxes that I would normally, I have to have this in my diet, I could still check off.
Was it emotional as an experience to like stick to that? Because I'm sure when you're used to a really big portion and now you're only having a little bit, you
Getting
have it, you're
started
like,
out, it was rough.
now what? I would, what sounds good? Another one of those, or maybe
Exactly.
3. Like, what was that like for you to confront the emotions that go with that?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that difficult for me because technically I'm a phys ed major when I went to
Okay.
college, so I kind of
Yeah.
knew where I was supposed to be already, so I had to just kind of get back to it. It was a matter of changing my lifestyle and saying, okay, I went way too far. I've got to get back to what I know is right. And once
Okay.
I lost some weight, I started exercising again, which made it even easier.
Then
So,
it starts falling off,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
just found it fun. So you really had to address the relationship you had with food,
Right.
Which in your case, it was specifically portion sizes.
Correct, yeah.
I'm fine if I can just bring these down,
Mm-hmm.
and you felt motivated enough, and then but that original feeling of like I miss this, right? Like,
Yeah.
doesn't that happen? Like, isn't there a
Oh,
sense
yeah.
of like
Oh, yeah.
I miss partying and just like really gorging on this?
Exactly. When I first started, I literally, those little pizzas, I was like, I wish I could have 2 of these.
Yeah, yeah. This was a
This
good
is
bite.
great, but
yeah.
I could have another one right now.
Well, each one's the size of a slice
Yeah.
on the bigger pizza, and then you're just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to keep making this work.
Right.
So you adjusted over time, you got used to it. At this point, your relationship with food has probably changed. Do you now not feel that craving that you once did? Does everything feel right-sized for you?
Well, yeah, I do, but I've just kind of got used to eating the certain way and how much I'm eating. So my stomach has too. I don't.
Right.
Once I eat so much, I'm like, gosh, I'm full. And if I
Yeah.
try to eat that big a portion at this point, it almost makes me upset to my stomach. So
Right.
Oh yeah.
I've just got used to not eating that much foods.
That's so interesting. The pizza diet.
I was about to say, you also adjusted that you had 3 large meals, and now you have smaller meals and little snacks in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah,
Okay.
part of the diet is to have a small breakfast, a snack, a lunch, and then like a power fuel they call it, a dinner, and then another snack.
So you're kind of always keeping
Yeah.
something in the tank. That way
Right.
you're not touching like that real famished feeling of like, oh, I just got to get out there and pig out.
Yep. No starvation. It's just you're always having a little bit. Keeps your metabolism high too as part of the goal.
See, it's so lucky to have you here for this one because, like, I read this question, and when this person's saying, "Look, I've tried to quit, I haven't been able to." How many of us have failed diets, right? I mean, that one worked for you, but I'm sure it wasn't your first go.
Right.
I'm sure over the years, I tried this one too, I tried that one. That is very relatable. We're doing this in secret. We're doing this to such an excessive amount that we're aware of it, and now we're starting to violate social norms, which I know is a tricky game to play of like, what is a social norm? Where is it healthy? Where is it unhealthy? But I think that whenever you're hiding a behavior from the rest of society, that's an indicator light on the dashboard that we should talk about it. Like, oh, I drink, everybody drinks, right? Yeah, okay. Well, I drink in secret, and I'm drinking after everybody else left the bar, and then I'm pretending to go to my car, and then I'm walking back in. Like, so I can finish up like what I feel like I need. Okay, let's shine a light on that, right? Like, I'm not here to judge you, but I think it goes back to what you pointed out, Nick, that the writer's saying, this bothers me. And this is where, with the sex addiction one, we had a similar challenge. There are those in our field who feel like, hey, look, the problem isn't you, the problem isn't the appetite, the problem is society. And I think you and I take the approach of the patient gets to decide what the problem is. If they are unhappy with this, if this is alarming to them, or if they can look inside themselves and say, I know this isn't congruent with where I want to be, then great. They get to define the goalposts, and then we try to pursue that.
Yeah, and then also I think we have the ability too, if we're meeting with somebody, to really kind of assess what their relationship is with food.
Right.
And whether or not this is something that we should be concerned about.
Yeah.
You know, like, because we could say, somebody who, a woman who comes in who's 5'8" and weighs 85 pounds
Right.
and comes into your office and says, I need to do something about my weight. It's out of control. I really need to cut down. I really need to cut some weight. You will respect her situation.
Right.
But you're
Yeah.
still going to say, like, okay, well, now I know what we're talking about here. This is a whole different, this is kind of a different ballgame.
This
right?
immediately knocks on the door of an opportunity to, I think, PSA for a second, and I'm going to brag on you for a minute. You've launched this new program, Mental Fit, and it is amazing. And it's something that everybody agrees needed to exist. Because we think about physical fitness, we think about personal training. There is a lot of psychology and emotion that is wrapped up in this, right? And it's a lot of patterns. It's not merely like, oh boy, I would be perfectly healthy if only I knew how to do a correct curl. No, it isn't just form and procedure. There is emotion, there is entanglement, there is cognition that's involved in this, there is self-perception, there are barriers. Sometimes there are these compulsive patterns or the 4 C's that are playing a role in how we get stuck in these toxic cycles, which is why I think your project is so important. And it just, I hope everybody knows that it exists now. How do they find it, by the way? Did you ever launch a website?
It's mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
That's a lot of words, buddy. You know,
I know.
tangibleresults.com was available.
Crazy Nick's Crazy Fitness Emporium.
Also that. There's a lot of words, though. I might have to abbreviate it.
mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
Or
but
that.
yes, the big thing that I'm doing with my program is, you're right. It's not like, because if you go into personal training, they're going to teach you, like, okay, here's the proper way to perform a squat.
Right.
Right. Okay. They'll do an assessment. They'll determine, okay, well, your calf muscles are way too tight, which decreases your ankle mobility. So we need to work on that. So we're going to do these stretches, these exercises, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm doing all of that, but then I'm also talking about, how do you feel walking into the gym?
Right. Okay. Yes.
Are you discouraged walking into the gym? And then like, I just don't feel comfortable there.
Right.
I feel like as soon as I walk in, everybody's staring at me.
Right.
I feel like, I just don't fit in, and I feel like I'm being laughed at. Like, okay, let's sit and talk about that.
Let's deal
piece,
with that.
Right.
Because
that's really important, because that keeps you from anything else that you're going to be doing in your fitness
Doesn't
journey.
matter how many push-ups you know how to do if you're not emotionally able to do them.
Exactly.
We got to start with you as a human.
And we are going to talk about nutrition, but we're really going to be talking about it more from a relationship with food. Like, what is that relationship with food like? Because there's a big movement away from counting calories.
Okay.
Right? Which I pretty much agree with.
Okay.
For the most part.
It's a little simplistic.
Because I don't want people to get really hung up on the numbers.
Right.
Right. But then I also want them to meet their goals.
Right.
So you kind of have to weigh these, because
there is an arithmetic to it.
Right. I mean, so if that is your goal that you want, and it's within a healthy amount and it's nothing crazy, you want to drop 15 pounds over the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Like we can work around that. That's fine. And, but if they're not meeting their goal, then they get discouraged. And then they're just like, well, what's the point? Well, so we have to look at nutrition for some part, right? We have to address it. But I don't want people to get caught up in all of the numbers, because you can take that and you can go way to the opposite.
You can get really
extreme,
preoccupied
right?
with it.
But it's funny, because I was just talking to Kevin about this yesterday. There's some usefulness in counting calories to start with.
Yeah, because it gives you a way to monitor things.
Yeah, because I had no idea what 2,000 calories actually look like.
Right.
Until I actually started looking at how much I was taking in.
Right.
And then I was like, oh wow, yeah, okay, that's.
It gives you something.
Yeah.
A baseline.
So it gives just a way to look at food. So again, like it's all about having a healthy relationship with food. I talked about this 2 episodes ago. I don't have good food and bad food.
Right.
I've got food that I use for fuel, and I've got food that I use for pleasure.
Right.
Fuel comes first because that's what my body needs. So I need to make sure I'm fueling it correctly. And then if I want to have
Taquitos.
then okay, I can do that. I can work that in.
Right.
But it comes to prioritizing.
It's got to be on top
Right.
of the layer that's already taken care of.
The other thing is like with restriction, because that's a big thing too. People don't. There's part of that whole same movement is like you should never have to restrict your diet.
Right.
Okay, well, we have to first. I mean,
Right.
our bodies adjust to what it's used to.
Yeah.
Kevin's body was used to what he was
Right.
eating. All
and
right.
then he
So if
activated
he-
behavior.
Right.
Going back to the first question, he activated behavior first
So
and then followed along with what he felt satisfied with.
So there was some restriction. Now his body has adjusted.
Right.
And now it probably doesn't feel as restricting
Right.
as it did before.
Now he
I-
feels like it's too much if he has 2 of those pizzas.
Right. So all he's done really is retrain his body.
Right.
So like this is what 2,000 or 2,200 calories or 2,300 calories, whatever you're on.
And then the
this
mind
is what this
follows.
feels like.
Right.
Right. And then your body kind of adjusts to it like, okay, this is what we're going to live on from now on.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to count calories now.
No.
I never do.
Because you can trust your
I just kind of
intuition
know.
now. Yeah,
right. I just
exactly.
kind of have an idea of what
But
it
in the
looks
beginning,
like.
you don't have that calibrate.
Exactly. You have to, calibrate is the right word. You have to kind of calibrate your body to that.
Calibrate. Guys, I got it. That was it. New website.
So yeah, to the
It's
listener,
just an Excel spreadsheet where you type things in. This is a great idea.
to the listener, I think this is a great question, and you're very observant, and I think comparing it to sex addiction is
Very similar. They're both
Yeah.
process addictions.
yeah, and I mean, if you're identifying it as it's causing problems for you, then that needs to be addressed. So if you can find a therapist that you can talk to that has experience with that or has experience with any kind of addiction.
And
that
we
could
had
be
a
beneficial.
question a couple of weeks ago where somebody was asking similar, should they go see a therapist specifically that specializes in addictions? And I think we took the position of
First
don't wait.
available.
Yeah, first available.
Yeah.
But this is a new thing. And I think that it's very novel what you're creating. It is not the intersection of therapists who are also passionate and informed about physical fitness and then enjoy doing both of those with people that like training but also want to weave in the therapeutic work. I don't even know anybody else that's doing this anywhere. I haven't even heard of anybody else doing it. So this is huge, but this is what we need more of. And hopefully, I think you starting this and even talking about it here and teaching people what you're up to, there might be other professionals that kind of hear this and go, yeah, this needs to exist. We need to be attacking physical stuff from a mental angle. Nobody else is really doing enough of it. So this is huge. So the question, the author also asked, is addiction real? Yes. But also how to get treatment. I mean, yeah, I think we're pro therapy. I think that's great. I think if you could benefit from some kind of fitness coaching that could help you kind of activate behaviors, going back to the first question, that will lead to some of the restriction changes or some of the dietary changes. If you want to get a hold of Nick, what's the website?
mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
.com. Or just write into PodTherapyGuys. He gets those emails too. So he can always sift you over.
Or Nick at mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
Yes.
That's my email address.
Very long email address. Just
Crazy
saying.
Nicks.
Crazy Nicks, Crazy Fitness Emporium, and tire sales. I think that would have been also a very solid. And he can work with anybody anywhere in the world. So if you want that help, virtual support is available. Check Nick out at Tangible Results Fitness.
No, Nick at mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
Mine's better. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about adult autism spectrum disorder. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
No one can pronounce my last name. They always think it's Tangeman.
Tangeman?
So all they just think it's
it's
Tangible Fitness Results.
I would have spelled it. No, you got to have an E.
No. All right, this episode is brought to you by Robert Brownie Jr. Mintz, Kayla Lansbury, Crazy Manascoop, Malia, Cindy Ash, Adam Hathaway. God, that's annoying. Mike Helm, Liv, Darren Cuttingham.
That's annoying.
All right. Second question having to do with music theory.
Oh, God.
A major chord is the first, third, and fifth note of a scale.
What is a scale?
How do you not know this?
It's on a fish.
There we go.
What does it mean when the chord is augmented? A, the fifth is sharp. B, the third is flat. C, the third and the fifth are flat. D, the first, third, and fifth are sharp. If you'd like to join the Therapy Producers, make the show possible, go to patreon.com.
All right, I got dibs on C this round. What are you taking, Andrea?
B.
That's a solid answer. What about you, Kevin?
A.
A.
Read C again.
C is the third and the fifth are flat.
I think that's where I'm going to.
So we're both on C?
Yeah.
What did we leave behind on that? D? I
D.
don't even know.
Which you should. That's the right one.
Oh.
Because if the
D is the right one?
no, D is the wrong one.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, good.
D is the one to ignore. Because
Okay.
if the first, third, and fifth are sharp,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's just a major chord up.
That's just a different
yeah,
chord.
it's just a
You
different chord.
dummies. Yeah, stupids.
I did
All
know
of you
that.
picked D.
Okay.
Idiots.
Kevin is 2 for 2.
Damn, dude, what?
An augmented chord is when the fifth is sharp.
Kevin, if
Just
you're
the
not
fifth,
already
okay.
gambling
What
in
did you
Las
say?
Vegas,
Did you
I
say-
hope that you will.
You
I don't
said
even
C.
remember what I
You
said.
had B, so that's just a minor chord.
Yeah.
It's a flat third. You had
Shame on you,
The
Andrew.
third and the fifth are flat. That's a diminished.
Yeah. That's what Grandma used to teach us.
Yep. So there you go. We all learned something today.
Can't believe Kevin is this lucky. This is insane.
That's not luck. Twice in a row?
That, you know what? You're right. Yeah.
Come on.
You can't fake those results. Yeah. That's what are the odds?
What are the odds?
1 in 4 twice? That's astronomical. Somebody needs to teach me how that math works. Alec, write in and tell me what the odds are of somebody 1 in 4 getting 2 answers correct, because that's what just happened. Hi, Pod Therapy. I'm Nate, 27-year-old, married, and an engineer. When I was a kid, I had a lot of trouble with school. My social skills weren't great, and I had a lot of trouble concentrating. The school district said it was general executive function disorder, and there weren't a lot of resources there to help me. Fast forward to the age of 18, my senior year of high school. I was still having problems with time management and concentration, so I wanted to go through another assessment. That's when I was diagnosed with ADHD and started taking medication. College was a totally different educational experience, and now that I had medication and helpful resources, I did better. Now today, at age 27, I'm still having a lot of issues in social settings. I don't read social cues very well, and I get overwhelmed by stimuli easily. I was suspicious that I might be on the spectrum, so I was referred to a specialist, went through a diagnostic evaluation, and was diagnosed with ASD level 1. This diagnosis explains basically all the things that I was still questioning about myself. In one way, it feels like a weight off my shoulders, and I finally have a clear direction to go for understanding myself and my behaviors. In another way, I'm really struggling with my sense of identity. I feel as though I'm a different person, someone who doesn't have their shit together as much as I thought, someone who isn't normal. I'm also more self-conscious of my behaviors in social settings, which causes me to engage less with people and separate myself from friends. This is something I'm working on with my therapist and psychiatrist, but I was hoping you all had some insight into adult ASD diagnoses. Here are some resources recommended by my psychiatrist who did my assessment. Smart by Scattered.
I think that's supposed to be but. Smart
but Scattered, installed by Gwar, and Dawson. My Brain Still Needs Glasses by Anik Vincent. Taking Charge of Adult ADHD by Russell Barkley. ADD-Friendly Ways to Organize Your Life by Kohlberg and Dow. Autistics on Autism, Stories You Need to Hear About What Helped Them While Growing. Up and Pursuing Their Dreams by Carrie Magro. The Neurodivergent Friendly Workbook of DBT Skills, paperback by Sonny Jane Wise. And The A to Z of ASDs by Rudy Simone. Thanks, guys. You have been extremely helpful throughout my journey of understanding and managing my mental health. Best, Nate. P.S. Feel free to use my first name. We
Oh,
did,
good.
Nate.
We lucked
Also,
out on that one.
Yeah, we really lucked out. We don't read these in advance, Nate. Never put the disclaimer at the end. We will not catch it. That would be awesome. It's like, by the way, please don't use my name.
Yeah.
Great. Back to one. Start the letter over
Because
again.
you know we'll forget to edit.
Yeah, absolutely. We would just try again. We'd scrub the whole episode.
All right.
So, autism spectrum disorder. So we should talk a little bit about that. We should talk about ADHD and ASD, but also talk about how diagnostics, I think, are good, but also can do this, right? Where you become really self-conscious, become hyper-aware, and you kind of get this kind of like observational effect. So really quick, when you think about mental health stuff, you hear about this depression, you hear about anxiety, you hear about a lot of things. We kind of categorize things, and I like to use the metaphor of like software, firmware, and hardware. So you look at your phone, you have your Facebook app, that's software. If it's acting buggy, the app itself needs an update. The phone's fine, it's just the app. A lot of mental health, I think, is like that. So I think of your fear kind of programming. That's anxiety. When that's buggy, maybe you have an anxiety disorder. And so a therapist is interested in working on debugging that program so that you get better results. Then you have firmware, which is a different set of mental health stuff. That's kind of where we're talking about with ASD and ADHD, because it isn't as simple as like a malfunctioning app. It's sort of a pattern, a way that's not going to change about the person. If they have ADHD, if they have ASD, this is a way that their brain cognates and perceives and functions. There are medications and there are things they can learn to better manage those realities, but we're not going to change them, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas anxiety, we're hoping we can mostly make it go away, or depression, we're hoping to eliminate it completely. With these particular things, they're in a category, the DSM-5-TR, where we actually see them as neurological in nature. And so that's more of a firmware thing, whereas hardware would be something like, you got hit in the head with a baseball bat. Like I have a traumatic brain injury. That's functionally the phone got dropped and smashed. So that's different. So this is something that somebody might discover about themselves. And I think it is profound because if a doctor sits you down and says, hey, Nick, you have major depressive disorder, I think you go, okay, like that sucks.
That checks out.
Yeah, that checks out. What do we do about it, doc? But if I sit you down and say, hey, you have this permanent reality that defines the way you think and perceive the world around you, have you ever noticed these traits? And it's like, yes, I can check all those boxes. There is this internal awakening where you're kind of like, oh, shoot, this is something about who I am. And Nate, I think that's tricky because in some ways, like you said in your letter, it's kind of relieving because you're like, okay, this adds up. Like this, yes, that is who I am. So there's a name for this. Whenever I felt a little bit different, now I know that there's many people like me. I think that's good. It's relatable. But it's also difficult because diagnostics are sticky. And when they get on your shirt and you're like, this is who I am, you become hyper vigilant, you become hyper aware of yourself. You're like, oh, then you explain everything that happens in life with this, right? Oh, I didn't get along well with that ex-girlfriend. You know what? It's probably because I have autism and because I didn't perceive things about her. When it might have not been that. It might have just been you guys weren't a good match. But now we're putting everything in this bucket. And so this happens to a lot of people whenever they get a fresh diagnosis. It's something we struggle with a lot. And it's why Nick and I are usually kind of tiptoeing between those, like the importance of diagnostics, because sometimes it can be distracting and sometimes it actually takes you away from solutions.
Yeah, like the old saying goes, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem's a nail.
That's right.
Right? It's like, it creates a filter then through how you see the world.
Yeah, it definitely will blind you to a lot of things. So in this case, Nate, I like that you've got this diagnosis. I think you're better off for having more information. But I understand what you're saying, where you're saying, look, I'm struggling with my sense of identity. Now I feel like I'm a guy who just doesn't have his shit together, and I don't feel normal. And if you haven't already, it sounds like you're getting some great books, some great resources. I would encourage you to try to get part of a support group. There is Autism Speaks, which is a national group for children as well as adults. But just finding more people that are relatable, sharing that sense of identity where you feel like you have things in common, I think joining with them, but then also noticing differences. Because I think whenever you interact with other people and you're like, oh, wow, I don't do that at all. Then you realize, yeah, it's a spectrum, Nate. Like it's a very wide spectrum. And the other thing you need to realize is this. When we're talking about ADHD or ADD or autism, ASD, one of the things that's difficult about diagnosing these is that they are functionally exaggerations of common human patterns. Right? Like all humans are distractible.
Yeah.
Do we all have ADHD? Well, something cannot by definition be a disorder or irregular or atypical if we all do it, right? If everybody's red-haired, then red hair is not an anomaly. So same thing with this. What makes something diagnosable is whenever we see this quality or characteristic showing up so prominently that it's quote unquote causing a clinically significant amount of distress. So it may be the case that, yeah, you relate, or yes, you can check some boxes, but also understand that a lot of times that doesn't mean that you're always kind of in an ASD moment. Sometimes you have to see it as episodic in the sense that sometimes those qualities are exaggerated lately and you're finding yourself bumping into challenges because of them. And many other times you manage your life very well in spite of those qualities. And if they're not causing a clinically significant amount of distress, in that particular epoch of your life, we might not really be diagnosing it. Now, that's a tricky thing because, like I said, it's the firmware is different than the hardware, right? And so when we're talking about firmware, we kind of consider it permanent or semi-permanent, but that doesn't always mean prominent. And so there's many people that have ADHD, ADD, ASD that are not even medicated presently, that are managing the symptoms quite well and are quite functional. And at that point, we would say it's kind of subclinical at that point, but we still know it exists, right? So we wouldn't exactly characterize it as in remission or anything like that, but we would use the language to each other as clinicians to say it's under control.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, the whole goal, the purpose behind all of this is to decrease symptoms and
That's
improve
it.
functioning.
That's always the goal.
Right.
Yeah. And if your functioning is increased, ASD, ADHD, or ADD, being a present reality, fine. It doesn't define you because at the end of the day, we're measuring function and behaviors. So as long as you're doing that, Nate, that's great. And I appreciate you giving us all those book titles because there's definitely somebody listening who needed them. And we don't know a ton about that. So that's terrific. Thank you for sharing it. And I think there's a lot of people that relate to this. More and more people are now getting diagnosed because I think we're A, it's coming out of the shadows, and B, people know what to look for. And a lot more of the field is actually getting, I think, literate in some of this. And it's not as frightening, especially now that we created a spectrum. Back in the day when you and I were first training, DSM-4, you might have been, no, you're not 3. You'd have to be born in the 60s to be 3. Yeah. Okay, so we were both 4, I think, and 5 came out right after... What?
I was in my last year of graduate school, I think, so 2004,
This is the part of the
2005.
show where Jim discusses when a book was published.
Yes. My point is we didn't always have a spectrum. We used to have little buckets, and we had Asperger's, and then we had autism severe and things like that. So anyway, Nate, great question. Thank you for sharing the resources. And yeah, try not to get too distracted by the diagnosis itself. It really is meant to describe patterns of behavior and not who you are. And if those behaviors aren't prominent at any given time, you can kind of think of yourself as, not episodic right now. And maybe that's helpful to you too. So anyway, we are at the end of the show where we want to thank all the folks who are supporting us at patreon.com/therapy. Reminder, it's not merely a place where you can get an extra bit of content with every episode every week. It's also a repository, an archive for deep dives and interviews and news and all sorts of fun stuff, and partial book clubs, which we've attempted multiple times and never finished. But thank you, everybody who supports us at patreon.com/therapy, especially 2 of our patrons who are here today. Kevin, who's never tasted defeat in his life, apparently.
Well, not since being on the diet.
Not
anyway.
since being, that's right. Not since you got on that winning diet. And Andrea. Thank you, Andersons, for coming all the way out here for this, specifically for this in the draft.
Exactly.
We know that's why you come to Vegas,
The only
and that's
reason.
the only reason. Otherwise, you just sleep in your hotel room.
They both have matching tattoos. I want to point this out.
Yes.
They both have the Golden Knights tattoos.
Very nice tattoos.
Right on their left cheek.
When are you guys going to do the pod therapy tattoos, the matching pod therapy
on the
tattoos?
other arm.
We
You guys
ran
got
out of
some
time.
space.
We were going to do it this trip,
Oh.
but we
Yeah.
ran out of time. So.
I want
We have a logo.
I want the neck.
Oh, the
That's
neck
what
tattoo?
I want.
Yeah.
I want right here. Just
I would be fine if a fan did that as a henna tattoo on their neck. I'd be fine with that. Like, that'd be
I think
great.
that'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
And then we'll change our logo.
Yeah. To just your face. Oh, no, they will just change it that way it's irrelevant? Yeah. It's a whole different one. Now it's a little happy brain guy. What is this weird thing on your neck? Want to thank some new folks that have joined the team. If you've joined since September 5th, that's when we're recording this, then we will catch you on a future episode. We always announce it at Twitter, at PodTherapyGuys. We announce it same day, and we always thank you on the next episode. But we've got some new producers, Nick. Who joined the party?
We got Team Monaco.
Oh, yeah, they wrote in on this one.
Yeah, that's how they got bumped up.
Yeah, buddy.
So thank you, Team Monaco. And then we've got Matt and Lisa Tangeman.
I believe it's pronounced Tangman. I believe.
I don't know. I think this one's Tangeman.
Okay. Well, we'll have to take your
A
word
guy, a girl, and their meat wagon
for it.
is the name of their food truck.
Oh, wow. That's a solid restaurant name.
It is.
So this is
Isn't it?
like all the Tangemans are really good at naming companies is
Yes.
what I'm hearing in this.
I think
Okay.
so. Yeah. So if you happen
I was
to...
afraid that was the name of the kid.
No. All right. Meat wagon?
Meat wagon
Yeah.
Tangeman.
Not a bad idea.
I mean, I'm not shooting it down. You know, it's got some play there. I like that.
That's a great name. No, they got a food truck, so they
cool.
they do a lot of like grilling competitions and
Oh,
stuff. So they'll
cool.
travel around and stuff. So if you're ever, you can look them up on Instagram. Also, if you're ever down in the Mobile, Alabama area, check it out. Tell them you're a listener of Pod Therapy, and they'll let you drive
charge
the
you
food
double.
truck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's the deal we have with them.
I don't know. I didn't discuss this with them.
Starting now.
I didn't discuss this with them at all.
That's always been the deal.
They may let you drive it. They may report it stolen.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We'll find out
until
together.
we find out. Go to Mobile.
Right in.
And we want to especially thank our bosses, the Saccharin 16, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr., Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, King of June Lone Dead, Dr. Ben Don, who I am rooting for throughout all of fantasy football. Give them hell, Ben. I believe in you, man. I'm with you until I face you. Then I would like to win. Crazy Banana Scoop, Mason Miller, Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, the lawyer of Pod Therapy, sending out cease and desist every week to random fans. Kevin Chamberlain, Malia, Richard Macy, Cindy Ash, Newstick, Dirty B, Ben Stanley, Sammy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Tess Miller, Paris, Myra, Lib, Darren Cunningham, Samantha Cohn, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Team Monaco, and Matt and Lisa Tangman.
Tangeman. If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That is all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our special guests, the Andersons, and thanks to our landlords, Matt Manley's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and to all of you who contributed to the social or to the program today. Whatever. We
Matt
appreciate
Madigan's
it.
Ice Cream Social Podcast, nominated for Best Comedian
We'll
on Best
see
of
you
Las Vegas.
soon. Share this episode with someone who needs it on social media. You tag us when you do. And if you want to submit a question, oh wait, this is your part. Go ahead.
No, you're doing good. And ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I gotta pee.
Thanks. We'll see you for your appointment next week.
And he wouldn't kid. Jim is running from the room. There is a damp trail behind him.
Who's going to clean this up?
Not me.
Bye.